니들이야?
오빠들.
Huchagui familia yako, ni zawadi ya Mungu kwako kama ulivyozawadi kwao. Iwapo unakohoa, unahisi uchungu kwenye kifua, uchovu kila wakati, joto jingi mwilini, unakosa hamu ya kula au kupoteza uzito haraka bila kukusudia, na kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, waweza kuwa waugua TB. Nenda hospitalini ukapimwe. Ikibainika ya kwamba ni TB, utapewa dawa, na ukimeza vizuri ulivyoshauriwa na daktari, utapona. TB yaweza kuangamiza jamii yako. Usikubali. Matibabu ni bila malipo katika hospitali zote za serikali.
The Policyholders Compensation Fund, PCF, is a state corporation under the National Treasury and Economic Planning that was established under the Insurance Act with the primary mandate of providing compensation to the claimants of an insurer placed under statutory management or whose license has been cancelled. It was established for the secondary purpose of creating confidence in the insurance sector. Policyholders Compensation Fund, dhamana ya bima yako.
All that it takes so I can be with you. I want to be with you.
Malena, what a surprise. You're here at this time? With a suitcase?
I left. I abandoned Oligario.
I think we shouldn't let it go to
Don't
waste,
touch
huh?
me.
Hey, calm down, relax.
Just try to touch me, even with a single finger, and you will see just how serious I was.
Don't be a coward, Gaspar. Just tell me who did this to you.
I cannot denounce anybody, no one. It's not that you don't like the veterinarian. The fact is that you don't like him to be with that woman. You like that lawyer.
Las bandidas.
Have I shown you what I'm feeling? It's my international love. Oh, yeah. She tell me, say she miss me, she want me come warm.
See the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Whoa.
And for us, you are in time for the latest updates. My name is Irene Mchuma Udem. On sign language interpretation, we have Susan Thuku. It is the 13th day in the month of June 2023. The Finance Bill 2023 is expected to be tabled in Parliament in an hour's time, and it's a couple of days away to the budget day. We have you covered. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Our top focus this afternoon, the Finance Bill 2023 is expected to be tabled before the National Assembly amidst push and pull between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza members of parliament over proposals contained in the proposed law. Abdul Aziz Hashim has that report.
The heated debate over the fate of the Finance Bill 2023 will this afternoon find its way into the Augusta House. The bill is set to be presented to the members of Parliament for the second reading, with the Finance Committee chaired by Molo Member of Parliament Kimani Kuria expected to table its report after reaching a consensus over the contentious clauses in the bill.
Our colleagues from opposition and even some from our coalition should know that they can actually write to the Speaker and make amendments.
MPs allied to the ruling Kenya Kwanza and opposition will seek to use their political muscles to have the bill passed or rejected. The Azimio wing, led by Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, has vowed to floor the bill in its entirety despite the reduction of the housing levy percentage from the initial 3% to 1.5%.
There is still time to withdraw this bill and bring it back in a form that is responsive to the plight of the people, in a form that is acceptable. But our plea has fallen on deaf ears.
This as the Kenya Kwanza outfit, led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, seeks to pass the bill in time for the budget reading on Thursday.
Those who continue to misinform and disinform Kenyans, even on the questions of the finance bill, will now reconcile themselves with their conscience and come and debate the issues touching on finance bill on the floor of this House.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly's Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee has approved the nomination of the Director of Public Prosecutions Nuruddin Haji as the next Director General of the National Intelligence Service. In a 264-page report, the Nelson Koech-led committee noted Haji met all the requirements and is suitable to become the country's spy master. MPs will consider the report this afternoon. Abdiaziz Hashim for Lunchtime News.
Thank you, Abdiaziz, for that report. Kamche Menza is on standby in Parliament. We will be crossing over live when need arises. For now, we cross over to Kiambu. The area governor, Kimani Wamatangi, has invited the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to probe the alleged theft of coffee of some officials at Komodhoi Coffee Farmer Society in Githunguri as part of efforts to weed out cartels that have been allegedly oppressing farmers. Wamatangi says his administration will similarly conduct an audit of the factory's accounts and of other coffee societies to improve coffee returns in the region. Wamatangi made the remarks in Kiambu when he distributed free coffee fertilizer to farmers in 22 societies. The initiative seeks to boost coffee farming by increasing produce from 2 kilograms per bush per year to 5 kilograms and consequently improving livelihoods.
Sadi na wakora na cartel ndani ya ukulima wetu wa kahawa, na tunahakikisha kwamba wakulima wetu kutoka hapa kwenda mbele wanapata haki yao, na hiyo ndio ile njia tutatembea kwa uwazi na njia ya kuonekana, na wakora wote wawekwe ndani na watu waendelee na wapate pesa yao ile ya haki.
Governments of Kenya and Tanzania are holding a series of forums to sensitize members of the public living along the two countries' common border on a joint reaffirmation exercise. The sensitization forums are aimed at ensuring peaceful coexistence among the communities bordering each other and clarity on which side of the boundary they reside.
Speaking at the forum, Kajiado County Commissioner Felix Watakila emphasized the need to visibly mark the boundary by erecting boundary pillars.
Sisi kama serikali ya Uganda na Kenya hatutakubali. Tunataka hiyo mradi iwe sustainable, idumu. Ili kila mwananchi wa Tanzania wa Kenya aone mpaka ya Kenya ndio hii, ya Tanzania ndio hii.
He was accompanied by officers from the Kenya International Boundaries Office, top county security personnel, and lands officers from the Tanzanian side. The involvement of local communities is a key aspect of this exercise, as they will be responsible for providing labor and construction materials for the pillars. Representatives from Tanzania also reaffirmed their commitment to a transparent and collaborative process. They emphasized that residents accidentally living on the wrong side of the border will not be evicted, but instead given the opportunity to choose their preferred side of jurisdiction. Adequate compensation will be provided if necessary.
Moja kwa ni kuweka kwa ajili ya kutafsiri zile alama zinatakiwa zikae wapi, lakini mbili ni kuweka alama zenye kuonekana.
Julius Rotich, a surveyor from the Kenya International Boundaries Office, shed light on the construction of the new pillars.
Tutaandikisha sasa agreement yetu ya serikali ya Kenya na serikali ya Tanzania. Hiyo agreement ndio itakuwa inatuelekeza vile tunafanya kwa mipaka zetu. Wewe sasa utatuambia kwa hii nyumba yako ambayo imekatwa na laini, utatuambia kama wewe ni Mtanzania, tukupeleke Tanzania. Alafu tukucompensate uende Tanzania.
Both countries are encouraging their citizens to continue coexisting in harmony during and after the reaffirmation exercise. Joan Junge for Lunchtime News.
The Policyholder Compensation Fund has planted over 1,500 trees at Itoleka Girls Secondary School in Kitui County, in line with the presidential directive of planting 15 billion trees by 2032. An additional 50,000 more seedlings will be planted by the Compensation Fund in the next 10 years.
On the tree planting exercise at the Itoleka Girls Secondary School in Kitui County saw the students and representatives of the Policyholder Compensation Fund take part in planting over 1,500 seedlings. The school's head, Queen Mulandi, said the students will be tasked with taking care of the trees to maturity.
Even if we are doing this exercise in the month of June and the rains are likely to be in Kitui in the month of October, these seedlings will be safe because we have water in the school.
To those schools outside there, you can plant trees in your schools. To any well-wisher who wants to maybe give us more trees to plant.
Policyholder Compensation Fund further announced plans to plant an extra 50,000 trees in the next 10 years.
It is an initiative that everyone should at least adopt a tree to ensure that we can fight the effects of climate change.
This even as coastal communities are being urged to embrace tree planting culture as a means to mitigate climate change effects.
Leo tunaenda kupanda miti hapa 1,000 kuhakikisha kwamba tunaongeza ili mvua ikinyesha mazingira yakuwe bora na watu wazidi kufaidika. Maji muhimu.
Isafar reporting for Lunchtime News.
All right, the Finance Bill 2023 is this afternoon expected to be tabled in Parliament. My colleague Kamche Menza is at Parliament buildings. Kamche, good afternoon.
Our position has not changed, so I beg that we leave it at that.
This afternoon we expect the Finance Committee to table its report on the Finance Bill, and we put together there are some amendments, for example reducing the housing levy to 1.5%. Are these amendments likely to move the Azimio side maybe to soften its stand on Finance Bill?
First and foremost, I haven't seen those amendments. As things stand, they remain rumors. Of course, if the Committee on Finance tables their report this afternoon, then it's simply a question of hours before we get to know what is contained in their report. For now, we can only speculate. But even going by the rumors that have come around, including the suggestion that the Kenya Kwanza side are attempting to reduce the housing levy from 3% to say 2% or 1.5%. If that is the only amendment you're talking about, or the only significant amendment you're talking about, then in my view, it is too little, too late. And it will not make any difference. It is too insignificant to make any impact. For as long as you have left the increment on VAT, on petroleum products, intact at 16%, anything else you do is neither here nor there.
Now we're likely to see the minority side moving some amendments to this bill, and also the report that will be tabled today.
We have said time and again that in our view, the Finance Bill 2023 is flawed beyond redemption. The flaws in the Finance Bill 2023 are incurable. So the only remedy really that was there, and the window is fast closing, was for that bill to be withdrawn, okay, and be brought back afresh in a format that is responsive to the plight of the common person, in a format that addresses the needs of the people, in a format that takes into consideration or that takes cognizance of the very strong sentiments that have been expressed by the public. So anything else won't work, and we are going to oppose it. We are going to oppose it with or without the minimal amendments we are hearing about. And we have said again that if they push it through using unorthodox means, we shall still be left with very many options on how to deal with the situation. That I have said before, and we maintain even today, that if that bill in its current format is pushed through the National Assembly, it may herald a new phase of serious mass action. As a matter of fact, when we were in Kisumu over the weekend, we did allude to the fact that this mass action might start around the 3rd of July. Yes.
But if you have room to give amendments, why not as a position in that particular finance bill?
First and foremost, it is futile.
KBC's Kamche Menza engaging Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Opio Wandai. We are on the Finance Bill 2023 watch out this afternoon, a debate that is expected to kick off in an hour's time. To other news, the Music Copyright Society of Kenya has assured musicians of better royalties payment once the new tariffs on music consumers are gazetted by the government. This as the government lauds the goodwill. MCSK Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ezekiel Mtua said they will ensure they harness the collection of royalties and in turn pay artists better than it has been in the past. Dr. Mtua further reiterated the need for musicians through their collective management organizations to work together with MCSK and the government in order to reap big from the recently launched Talanta Hela program.
For the first time, we are changing the story from whining and complaining and maligning people to putting money in the pockets of musicians. We are going to turn around this industry. We are going to ensure that the suffering of musicians comes to an end, because now we have got the goodwill, the political will, and we have the structures being put in place through CS Abamna Mwamba.
All right, two investors in Malindi, Kilifi County have clashed in public over a prime beach access road that is in dispute within the resort town. Drama ensued after one of the investors, accompanied by a group of local leaders and goons, stormed the formerly Patapata Beach Club road, demanding that a foreign investor who owns Le Pliadi Resort open up the road.
There was a scuffle at the scene as the group of residents tried to show journalists around the property. This as Le Pliad management termed it as trespass. The group led by Shalali Abdallah accused the owner of the Le Pliad resort for blocking the access road by erecting a perimeter wall.
The issue of riparian, according to Kenyan constitution, 2 meters from the high water mark to 30 meter high water mark. Our investors ameacha 120 na still ameka amusement area, na the area is open for the public. We are here for the sake of the public. We have no interest. I'm not an investor. I have nothing. I have no interest here.
Ikiwa wewe ni investor umekuja invest upande wako na mwingine na invest upande wake, mfanye competition nyinyi wenyewe inwardly, lakini sio kuinvolve na sisi. Kutufungia hapa tusende tabichi.
Kuna mradi hapa wa mabilioni ambayo kuna investor wataka kujenga utakaogharimu pesa nyingi, watoto watapata kazi.
Waziri wa Lanzi waone hii njia tuna uwezo wa kupita mpaka kwenye barabara bahari, na yule ambaye anataka kununua ile ardhi kule, watoto wetu watakuwa wamepata ajira.
Le Pliad resort manager Henry Chavanji accused the local investor of being a riparian land grabber, forcing access to private property, hence threatening investors.
They even threatened tourists and guests in our residence. I was assaulted. They beat me up badly. They managed to force access, and they went to the riparian grabbed land in the part of the ocean there, with those nearly 40 goons, all armed with rogue weapons. And that is a serious security threat to our business.
He called on the relevant government agencies to act on the matter and save genuine investors from constant harassment. Michael Moniga for Lunchtime News.
School administrations in Kisii County have received the much-awaited government capitation, which will cater for workers' salaries and teaching materials for schools in the region. One of the beneficiaries is Rikiondo High School, where the principal, Gerald Orina, while appreciating the gesture, however, decried the high cost of food and non-food items. He called on lawmakers to formulate legislation that will ensure the allocation of schools is sufficient to withstand economic shocks.
I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary for Education and the government in general for considering schools and sending the capitation money that has helped to alleviate the situation in which we were. It will enable us to have the children in school, even though, again, things are not very good on the ground. One, prices of commodities keep on increasing. Maize that we used to purchase a few years ago at 3,000, now it is 10,000. Beans that we used to purchase at 6,000, 9,000, now it is 20,000 plus, and the commodities are not even available.
And an anti-counterfeit forum is underway at the Bomas of Kenya. My colleague Regina Manyara has been at the Bomas since early morning hours. Regina, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Irene Mchuma. Rightfully put, we're coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya that is hosting the first ever International Symposium of Intellectual Property Protection. This particular conference is going to be running from today for the next 3 days, and the theme this year is all about spurring digital driven economies by addressing IP infringement and related forms of illicit trade. And talking about illicit trade, in the first morning session, or rather the first session of this particular conference, we had various stakeholders take to the podium and discuss matters of counterfeits. Now, looking at the local scene, as government is working at spurring manufacturing, is that a staggering 150 billion shillings is lost per annum owing to counterfeits, and a fact that is causing jitters along the manufacturing value chain, as they are calling for more stringent measures. Just last year, it was mooted to have a recordation program adopted by the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, and this came into effect on the 1st of this year. It's going to be monitored in terms of effectiveness gradually, but with that staggering statistics, 150 billion shillings lost per annum to counterfeiting. And looking at how much does counterfeit, contribute. Let's look at it, that to contribute to the GDP. The numbers that have been shared is around 8.7% of the GDP here is from counterfeits. Yet manufacturing, looking at the latest statistics, indicate it is operating, or rather contributing, at 7%, which private sector especially is saying that this is worrying, because from the numbers, glaring numbers as is, it shows that counterfeits actually are outdoing the local manufacturing sector, with 80% of goods that actually come into the country being termed as counterfeits. This is a conference that is going to be running for the next 3 days, and those are some of the conversations that are going to be taking place. Why do we need to have this menace done away with, and the cost it has, or rather the cost that we are bearing as a country as well as Africa? While the Anti-Counterfeit Authority is not working in its lonesome, it also has various stakeholders, including the Kenya Revenue Authority, which is already here showcasing what they are doing to also help in this fight of illicit trade. We also have other players, including the Africa Partnership of Juries there, showing that illicit trade across Africa is not an issue that only touches on Kenya, but it also is an issue and a menace that Africa is dealing with. We'll be keeping tabs on the 3 days conference and looking forward to the outcomes of these particular deliberations at a time when government is focusing on spurring the economy, especially with its other project, which is the digital superhighway. Now, this particular theme is driving and spurring digital economies. Now, back to you, Irene Mchuma.
Thank you, Regina. Even as we look forward to the resolutions after the 3-day conference tonight, we're expecting a news item from your end. Good afternoon, Regina. While you're watching the Lunchtime News, we are taking a breather. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Iwapo unakohoa, unahisi uchungu kwenye kifua, uchovu kila wakati, joto jingi mwilini, unakosa hamu ya kula au kupoteza uzito haraka bila kukusudia, na kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, waweza kuwa waugua TB.
What if he's not really dead?
He'd be very shocked to see his greedy brothers.
I'm not dead, Alice.
You are to me. Do you think Dad had a will?
Of course he did.
TB yaweza kuangamiza jamii yako. Usikubali. Matibabu ni bila malipo katika hospitali zote za serikali.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Now, we join Wairimo Njenga, who is currently engaging a number of engineers who are having a forum in the country. Wairimo, good afternoon.
Well, thank you, Irene Mchuma. We are right here in Naivasha, Sawela Lodge, where the Engineers Partnership Convention will be held starting tomorrow till Friday. Now, this is a critical convention as it will discuss emerging issues and critical issues in the engineering services. Now, the government has been pushing for the development of the affordable housing agenda, and engineering plays a critical role when it comes to this affordable construction, or rather affordable housing. And the theme of this convention is transforming Kenya's economy and ensuring that the engineering is contributing to the development of the economy. As you can see right here, around the preparations are ongoing as we await the inaugural of this event tomorrow. President William Ruto is expected to officiate this event tomorrow, and also will be having delegates from all over the African continent coming here to discuss the emerging issues in the engineering world. And also will be having the EBK board, that is the Engineering Board of Kenya, who actually the organizers of this convention, and they have received so much partnership, or rather so many partners from the Mombasa Cement. We have seen the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Roads setting up outside the exhibition centers, where the president will be taken around to just see some of the various innovations that are happening in the world of engineering. And just to speak more about what is going on right here, and also what to expect tomorrow, I'm joined by Eric Kubiero, who is the head of logistics and EPC right here, to discuss some of the various things I can see around here, the preparations, and also some of the guests that we are to expect tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we can start by the theme, which is transforming the country's economy through engineering. I'd like to know how you came about to that theme.
Okay, thank you. As you have said, my name is Eric Kubiero. I'm heading the Logistics and Exhibitions Committee. And as you can see, the preparations are going on, and we are ready for the 4th Engineering Partnership Convention. And the theme is about the role of engineers in the economic development of the nation. This is a critical theme, which it has come at the right time, when as a country we need to ensure that as engineers we play a role in the economic development of our nation, and also the support of the government agenda in terms of affordable housing, digitalization of the processes. So it's very important that as engineers, the convention is supposed to bring us together so that we can discuss, come up with various resolutions to ensure that we can play our rightful role. You can see preparation is ongoing on, and we are ready. We expect 2,000 delegates that is joining us physically and also virtually. You can also see we have partners. We have partnered with various stakeholders, Isuzu, Ketraco, just to name a few. And we are glad that it's going on well, and we are looking forward to a successful convention. We'll also be joined by delegates from across Africa, Tanzania, Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda, and we are looking forward to having a successful convention.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to know, in your capacity, maybe you can share with us why engineering is important when it comes to building affordable housing. And I know it's one of the critical agendas the government is pushing in the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you. You know, as engineers, engineers are problem solvers. And the issue of affordable housing has been a problem that has bedeviled this country for a long time. And we are happy that the government has thought it wise to come up with affordable housing, so that this challenge can be eradicated. And the role of engineers cannot be ignored. And that's why it's one of the critical pillars that engineers will be able to discuss and share how they can support this pillar. So it's very important that we have to incorporate the issue of affordable housing in this, the 4th Engineering Partnership Convention.
Okay, maybe you can take us through what will happen tomorrow. I can see already exhibition centers have been set up outside. We can see already inside there's activity, testing. Maybe you can take us through the program tomorrow so that our viewers can also be in the know.
Okay, thank you. Today we expect registration it has already started. We don't want tomorrow to have challenges. So in the afternoon, registration is already going on. So that tomorrow the program will start as early as 8 in the morning, and tomorrow will be the opening session. So that is what we expect tomorrow. Then after that, we'll also have presentations and discussions that will also be taking place.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that has been Eric Obero, who is the EPC and Exhibition Head of Logistics right here in Naivasha, talking to us about what to expect tomorrow. Remember, he has mentioned that over 2,000 delegates are expected to be here, and also they'll join virtually to just see how they can contribute towards the development of the economy. Taking you back now, Irene Muchuma.
Thank you, Wairimo Njenga, reporting live from Naivasha. This as the Engineers Board of Kenya is set to hold a conference in Naivasha. Wairimo, I also understand the EBK will be having a partnership with KBC, so you should keep it KBC Channel 1 for more information in regards to that. Now, in other news, farmers in Bere, Embu County, are calling on the government to allocate more cash for research targeting cash crops such as cotton. The farmers who had embraced growing GMO cotton say yields have tripled and variety is resistant to pests.
We want to make a strong legislation to protect our cotton farming, and we want to ensure in that law that if we have to import any material, textile materials, they must be there only to fill the gap.
Bitini GMO tumelima miaka 3, hakuna madhara tumepata, na wakulima wanaendelea kulima na wanaifurahia. Kwa biti kutumia mbegu unatumia kidogo sana, unatumia kilo 1.5, lakini ingine ya kitambo tulikuwa tunatumia kilo 6 kwenda mpaka kilo 8. Kwa hivyo mkulima akipanda mbiti anapata pesa mingi na mazao inatoka mingi, na hata kuvuna unavuna mara 2.
The Indian community says Kenya has been a supportive host that has seen their businesses thrive. Speaking during the commemoration of 75 years of India's independence, Dr. Bilal Kantaria, the chairperson of the United Asian Network, said the spirit of togetherness was a defining characteristic of the Indian community that has contributed to the success of Indian businesses in Kenya.
So Kenya government is engaged in creating larger markets that go beyond Kenya for business people in Kenya. And so when Indian business people set up in Kenya, they basically are able to access a much larger market, not just the 50 million plus market, but we're talking now about, for example, in the ESC context, a market of 100 or 100,000 people. But when you expand that to the IGAD region now, you're really talking about almost 250 million people. And so there are all sorts of strategies that government has put in place, whether in the area of fairer taxation, in the area of improved infrastructure, in the area of licensing, in the area of removing tariffs and barriers and non-tariff barriers, among others, to really make sure that we are able to do business in Kenya and from Kenya much more optimally.
Sort of happy to note that the Indian origin diaspora in Kenya has played a key role in the development of Kenya throughout history, from the kind of humble origins that they began with. But more important is the potential for them to do more, and the potential for them, from my perspective, to be a bridge of understanding and friendship between India and Kenya. It's a very historical relationship, it's a very old relationship, and the diaspora can play a role in bringing us even closer, and more importantly in working with Kenya's priorities and India's capacities to see how we can align them and get greater Indian investment, greater Indian expertise, and get some of those exchanges going that will be to the benefit of both countries.
The Indian community work extremely hard, long hours. The second one, culturally, we all stick together. As you know, we stay in the same house, families, extended families live in the same house. Third thing, we train our younger generation quite quickly to join the business, which I think other communities don't do that. So if you look at my father, from a very young age, he was training me to take over the business, my brother and I. So it's a cultural thing. So we tend to train our children very young that they must join the business, or at least have the option of joining the family business. History of India and Kenya are much more intertwined as our peers has said earlier on. And for that, we're truly proud to be both Kenyan and Indian as well.
Pastoralists in Isiolo County have been urged to embrace beekeeping as an alternative source of livelihood amid rise in market demand for honey from the region. The farmers have been urged to increase production so as to meet demand that is currently being covered by supply from Tharaka Nithi and Meru counties.
County government of Isiolo, in partnership with the E4 Impact Organization, is seeking to bring together individual beekeepers and groups that do beekeeping to come up with aggregation centers so that all the honey produced in various parts of the county can be collected and refined together.
Nia yetu kama E4 Impact ni kuhakikisha kuwa tuko na aggregation center Isiolo County. Na hiyo aggregation center tutakuwa na small aggregation center ambayo moja itakuwa tunataka ikuwe Kina, ingine ikuwe Garbatula, ingine ikuwe Odonyiro, ingine ikuwe Isiolo Central.
The project is set to sensitize the local community and build their capacity to embark on honey value chain development in order to tap into the largely unexploited sector. Leonard also noted that there is good market for honey from the region, but challenge lies in production.
Kando na ukulima wa mifugo, kando na ukulima wa foda, kando na ukulima wa livestock, kando na maziwa ya ngamia, pia tunaweza elekeza akili zetu kwa honey value chain na iendelee kujenga jamii zetu na iendelee pia kujenga mapato katika familia zetu.
The honey refinery in Isiolo town solely relies on honey from other counties like Tharaka Nithi and Meru to keep it going, since Isiolo County produces very little honey despite the huge potential it possesses.
Saa hii our main objective ile tunalenga saa hii, mfugaji wa nyuki asiende kufuga kama kuweka nyuki vile tunasema beekeeping. Siku hizi tunahimiza akuwe bee farmer na aende kwa stage nyingine tunaita farming as a business. Saa hizi tunakuza ufugaji wa nyuki ikuwe ni biashara kama yule mwingine.
Across the border, South African telecommunications company Telkom posted a 76.6% fall in full-year earnings because of inflationary pressures and increased operational costs amid the country's crippling power cuts. The large state-owned telecommunications company said its headline earnings per share, the main profit measure in South Africa, fell to 134.6 cents from 575.3 cents in 12 months ended March 31st. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines in Africa.
Like other South African telcos, Telkom has had to endure the country's worst rolling blackouts on record, leaving businesses and households in the dark for up to 10 hours daily. Telecoms have the added pressure of keeping phone networks running during blackouts. Telkom has come through a year marked by unparalleled levels of load shedding and an alarming number of incidents of theft and vandalism targeting network infrastructure. Elsewhere, Nigeria's biggest consumer goods firms paid 33.92 billion naira in income tax in the first 3 months of 2023 despite facing acute foreign exchange and rising liquidity challenges. Data gleaned from the Nigerian Exchange Group showed consumer goods firms paid the sum of 33.92 billion naira as income tax in the first quarter of 2023, a 3% increase from 32.93 billion naira in the same period of 2022. The consumer goods firms surveyed include Nestle Nigeria, Bua Foods, Nigerian Breweries, Dangote Sugar International Breweries, Cadbury Nigeria, Nascon, Champion Breweries, and Unilever. Finally, construction is underway for the highly anticipated Agricultural Service Center in Palim, Togo, marking a significant milestone in the collaboration between OCP Group and the Togolese government with the support of the World Bank. The center will serve as a hub for innovative farming practices, providing farmers easy access to quality agricultural inputs such as fertilizers, seeds, and crop protection products. One of the key components of the Agricultural Service Center will be the production of fertilizers tailored to the specific needs of soils and crops. In addition, the center will be equipped with a modern laboratory for soil analysis, facilitating the establishment and updating of the soil fertility map.
News. President William Ruto has announced the new government reward package for Kenyan sportsmen and women who excel at global assignments. The head of state said going forward, any sports participant at the global level who breaks the world record will be awarded 5 million shillings. The president made the announcement when he hosted double world record holder Faith Kipyegon and Africa 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala for breakfast at State House, Nairobi.
Speaking when he hosted double world record holder Faith Kipyegon and Africa 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala for breakfast at State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto noted the world beaters will also be given diplomatic passports to enable them be Kenyan ambassadors to the world.
We're going to look for alternative sources of resources to be able to do that, so that we can dedicate the Sports and Arts Fund to sports, to the creative economy, and to arts, so that we can promote the young men and women in that space, because they are doing a wonderful job in profiling our country positively.
Faith Kipyegon was rewarded with a 3-bedroomed house worth 6 million shillings and a cash reward of 5 million shillings after shattering the 1500 meters and 5000 meters world records at the Diamond League meets in Italy and Paris, respectively.
Our young men and women can be motivated because we already have the talent. We have the pool of talented resources in Kenya that can break any record. And going forward, we're going to work hand in hand with our athletes and support them. And
Kipyegon will now shift focus to defending our 1500 meters world title at the World Athletics Championship slated for August in Budapest, Hungary.
Thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you to the Kenyans who really supported me and cheering me wherever I was. I was not expecting today, is the truth. And with the money, I can say now I can buy my father a car. I promised him when I was going to break a world record that I'm going to buy a car for him. So now I can fulfill my promise.
Meanwhile, reigning Africa 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala also received a cash reward of 2 million shillings after a stellar performance at the Diamond League meet in Paris, where he finished second in the men's 100 meters behind America's Noah Lyles.
Stronger and stronger as the line approaches, and he pulls away to a win by about a metre.
Vexula Football Club defeated Kitaka FC 1-0 to win the Shishi Fashion Super Cup at Shika Adabu Primary School in Likoni constituency, Mombasa County. A total of 32 teams drawn from Mombasa County participated in the one-month tournament.
Captain Mohamed Chaka's goal in the second half was enough to silence Kitaka FC in the entertaining final.